This podcast is the result of my passion for languages and for talking to people. I have conversations with language professionals who are willing to share their experience. We focus on their work, but also on how their love for languages has shaped their personal lives. I'm Rita Prazeres Gonçalves, and I provide language services such as translation, localization, voiceover, and others in English and in Portuguese. I am also a language mentor for Portuguese speakers who are learning English and English speakers who are learning Portuguese. I am the language worker. Get in touch if you would like to know more about how I can help you with your projects. My email is rita@thelanguageworker.com. Hi, everybody. Today I'm here with Alice. I always try not to talk too much about these last names, but I would give it a shot. It could be Mansaud.
Yeah, exactly.
She'll
Bravo.
make it better for you. But anyway, that's something like this. This is the usual. First time we're talking. So we go straight into the podcast mode, which I think is great. All I know is that she is a French person teaching French, living in Spain. So this is where we're at, right?
Not bad, not bad.
So let me start by asking how English came into your life, because I'm like, yeah, she speaks really good English and she's not teaching English. She's not a translator. So apparently you don't use your English professionally, so from what I can tell so far, but I can also tell that your English is really good. So let's start with that, Alice.
Okay, so, we start with that question and it goes back from the origins, my birth.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's,
Your birth?
I think, because I think that my mother was an English teacher. She's retired now, but she was an English teacher, and I think she really wanted me to connect with the language. So when I was a kid, she would give me many how do you say this, games, to play with words. And actually, she did also that kind of immersion with other languages like Italian, Spanish, German. She would buy me books, for children, and she was playing with me to learn vocabulary, to play, and in different languages. So I really think that this is the reason why, because I was like immersed in other languages, and I found it kind of normal to hear different languages when I was a child, and she would make me come to her lessons, because she was a teacher. She was a teacher, but not in the national education system. She was a teacher in associations, and so I would go to her lessons, and so it's kind of one of this. It's kind of strong language for me, but now it's a bit more complicated because other languages came, and now that I live in Spain, as you mentioned, Spanish comes much more
present,
fluently, in my brain and in my mind, in my mouth. So now I think I lost a bit, in the process of learning other languages, but it's always kind of, it's fun for me to speak English, and I'm kind of, I don't want my mother to be ashamed of my English. So, I try to make my best to speak English.
Oh, I love it. So then when you started learning languages at school, which I suppose in the French system is probably English, the first foreign language that you have, I assume?
Yeah, you can choose between English and German. In my time, you could choose, but I definitely did English. But I was really interested in German, actually, because the teacher's reputation, the German teacher, was really bad. She was a terror, So my parents said, okay, maybe you should do English, And so I went for English, and it was great. I don't regret.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine that. Well, here we can choose. We could. I think now it's a bit different because there's Spanish involved somehow, but it was only between English and French, and I guess 90% of the kids also did English. For me, it was a no-brainer, obviously. Well, yeah, that is the story. So then what happened? You were at school, you liked English, you liked languages. Were you super good at languages? That's why you didn't consider other things, or did you consider other things? You liked science, you liked everything? Or what happened when it was time for you to figure out what you were going to do?
That's a very good question. Actually, it's true that I've always loved languages. So, but I wanted to be like an original as well. So, when in France, you have to choose between for the second language, the second foreign language, and I chose Italian, for example, above Spanish. So actually, I learned Spanish quite recently. I mean, it's like 8 years that I've been speaking Spanish. But and so I wanted to, I wanted to study Italian, and I really loved the language. So afterwards, I think that I've always been good at languages. I think, and this is thanks to my mother. I really think that the immersion she gave me made me more open to sounds, to rhythm, and I really liked it. But afterwards, and I think it kind of influenced the way I saw my career. You know, what I want to be as an adult, and I really wanted to have an international career. Having the opportunity to speak other languages with colleagues within work. Within work for the jobs. So I thought about things like tourism, or maybe working in trade. And, you know, little by little, I decided to study more economy. And I think this was the big revelation in my studying process. I was around 16, and I really loved economy, sociology, because these two, how do you say this? Well, we studied both with the same teacher, and it was really interesting to finally understand what is behind our individual choices and the importance of society, of the way we are educated, the environment in which you grow as a person are really are fundamental in the way you see things, the way you read your environment, the political choices you make, the economic choices you make. So it was really interesting for me, and I just loved that. And so I dig a little bit more in this way, and I ended up studying it within a business school. Because I let the tourism part, but it was like I've always I don't regret, but it's something that I really felt great to connect with people from other cultures, other languages, and it was always here, I think. But I decided for the business school, and there it was. Very European business school. It's called USCP Europe. Actually, when I was there, they changed the name, and it was Europe. And I was really glad because there are different campuses across Europe, and there were many other students coming from Spain, Italy, Germany. Not so much from the UK. No, I think of it. But and it was really great. And there. Obviously, I studied things like management, marketing, finance, the usual things. But it was really an opportunity to meet other people and other students from other languages, and I just loved it. Making tandems, studying languages there. I tried to learn a bit of Portuguese. This kind of it was, and it was great because I had. finally I had managed, what I wanted to be in an international environment.
So then you studied business, but so there was no specific language learning techniques or anything related to language learning. None of that while you were studying, doing your regular BAs and MAs and things like that, right? So those were not present.
Okay. No.
So
that
was just
2 or 3 hours, per week studying languages, right? Because it is important in that kind of schools. Languages are important, but no, there were no.
So then when you left university, what happened? You went for, is it a government job that I saw there on your LinkedIn profile, or?
No, it's not a government job, but I had,
it sounds a bit formal this way, right? If you say it in English, a government job.
No, it's not. But I worked as a consultant within a private company, which is called KPMG, and we specialized. My team specialized on doing consultancy for government or sub-government, local administration. So our clients were town halls, I don't know how to say that in English because it's very...
different.
Yeah.
It's very different the way they organize.
I don't know how to say. But, it was kind of local, so for the regions and so helping the regions to manage their finance or associations as well. So this kind of...
Did you need your language skills at that point, or was it something more business and financially oriented, or?
Yeah, no, not at all. And that was very painful because I really, because I was aware at that time that I didn't practice my languages at all. I didn't have time to meet many other people, making new friends. It was kind of very busy life, working a lot, and it was all French. So I really loved the part which was helping local communities and helping them, delivering public service. This was something really important for me. But I was losing my languages, So when I decided that I didn't want that life anymore, I really reconnected to the languages. I said, okay, I've always loved languages. So what can I do with that?
Yes. What could you do with that? So what was the first step to get out of this old, more business, public sector oriented life and coming to the dark side?
Yeah, actually, I think it kind of all started with a trip I made to Chile. I had a friend living there, and I visited her. Actually, first time when I just had the first job in KPMG, but then I really wanted to come back, and because I loved Chile, the country is so beautiful, and I love the energy there. So I came back, and which is very far from France.
Yes. I've been to Colombia, so not the same idea.
And the second time I was there, I met a girl from America, from the US, and we got along very well, and it was really nice because it's the kind of thing that I've always loved. So yeah, I was like, connecting with people. And she was great, and she told me about her experience, and she was teaching, and she was about to go to Barcelona in Spain to teach English to non-English speakers.
Typical, yes.
Typical. And she told me about her experience, how she had done it before, and she had been very glad with it. And I was like, okay, okay, this might be an idea, you know. And actually, the whole point of this second travel to Chile was to, in French, we say faire le point. So it means like do we a balance to find where you've come up at that stage of your life and what you want to do with your life afterwards. So the whole point of the trip was that. So, you know, I was thinking, so when she told me about her experience, and I was like, okay, so maybe I can do that with French, because what previous experiences had taught me before is that I really loved, you know, the tandem exchange, the fact that I was learning, practicing another language, and I'm thinking of an Italian friend I had in the business school, and I really loved as well to pass on my language, like little nuances, and trying to express and trying to find perfect translation or seeing the differences between languages. And so I was thinking, maybe I don't feel as secure as teaching another language, and I really didn't like the idea of teaching English. However, I could speak quite well, but I was like, no, I want to pass on my language, because I think that when you're a native speaker, you can pass on all your culture, your perception of the culture along with the language when you teach the language. And I really loved the idea. So that's when, back from Chile, when I started studying precisely teaching French as a foreign language, which is called FLE in French.
So did you go back to school, or was this a specific course, or what happened?
Yeah, it was a course made by the Alliance Française de Paris. It was distance, so I had my books, and I studied my books, and I sent the evaluations and everything, and it was like more or less. It took me, I would say, like 1.5 years, 2 years. Because I was still working in the consulting company, so it was kind of hard to have both. But so it took me around 2 years to get the diploma, to say that and to know more about what is it like to teach your own language, because you have many ideas, you have many cliches about what is a French teacher, what is a language teacher,
right?
How is it for me to teach the language? And I would say that, you know, studying with books and getting the diploma doesn't do all the job for it. And so I volunteered in associations, because there are many associations in France that kind of offer at a very low price French courses, French lessons for immigrants. So it was a very good opportunity for me to try my teaching and to know better how I could teach, who I was as a teacher, and connecting with other people, seeing what are the real needs of that people that come to France. What do they need? How can I help? So it was as important for me to volunteer as to study, I think.
So then you were like, well, I guess I have my diploma and I've done some practicing. So then what happens? You quit your job and you decided, I'm going to be a French teacher. So how was that process?
Yeah, actually, I had already quit my job before volunteering. So it was kind of, when I quit my job, I said, okay, I am going to really make all the chances and have all the putting all my efforts, I mean, in that project. And actually, the French teaching sector in France is quite large. There are many French teachers for foreigners. There are many associations. There are many companies. but it's not well recognized. Actually, the national education system doesn't does not really include French teaching for foreigners. Okay?
Right.
So, of course, but now there is like a unit within the French educational system that allows to immigrants under the underage, I think, under 18.
Right.
So it's, well, now there are some opportunities, but it's kind of complicated to have a real recognition of your skills as a French language teacher for foreigners, and it's. The problem is, I think it's the same thing with many languages. It's like it had the influence of Uber. I don't know how to say this in English. Like in French we say Uberization. It's the Uberization of the market of this sector. So it means that there are many freelancers. And the problem is that associations or language schools often ask you to be a freelancer because it's way cheaper than than to employ people.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, okay, so if you want me to be a freelancer, I will embrace, the project, and I won't be just a freelancer. I will be an entrepreneur, and I will see that career, that path as entrepreneurship, and as a way for me to discover who I am, how I want to work, and have my own rules.
Okay.
And it was but sometimes.
So you didn't work for any of those schools, right?
Sorry?
Yes, I know. I know how it goes. But so you didn't work for any of those schools who provide the services for somebody else, right? So
yeah, at first I did. I did, some the first month, but I saw that the way you teach is
you have to follow certain rules or certain books or
exactly, and you are not very free in your teaching. You have to follow a rhythm, and for example, you cannot help as much as you'd like some people because you have a group, and you have to carry the group up to a certain goal, and some people are left behind, and I really didn't like that. So I then specialized more in individual teaching, and I went also online to make things easier. And to continue to open to other people. So it was that reflection.
Right. So then you basically went to Spain, and that's when this happened. When you became freelance entrepreneur. No.
It's not the
so you were
time.
in France.
I was in France.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was in France because there is a real need. So
of course,
there is a real need in France, and but it's been 3 years now that I'm in Spain, and I came, in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
So in 2020. And this transition was not so easy. Actually, I thought that as I was already teaching online, I thought that, okay, so that's cool. Everyone is seeing now that online is good. It's a good way to connect, and that we can work online. So I was like, okay, this won't be that hard. But actually, the pandemic hit hard in economically. I mean,
yes,
so
of course.
I was hit as well, and I really had to rethink what I wanted to do. So I got a coach at that moment. because I wanted to
A career
explore.
coach.
Yeah, like life career coach, both. Yeah,
Okay.
and it was a very interesting experience because it allowed me to focus, to see what I wanted to be, how I wanted to be as a person and as a language worker, and how I wanted to help people. So it was really, really great. And I think, this coaching process resulted in who I am now, of course, definitely. And on the way I teach, the way I coach people, and the tools that I created, the podcast that I have, the blog, the newsletter. These are tools that I implemented, that I created, thanks to all that reflection about who I am and who I want to be. And this is
before we go into that, right, podcasts and things. So who are your students these days? So you're in Spain, but you don't do anything in Spain, right? I mean, necessarily in person. What I mean is in person. So
yes, I do. I have.
You do? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes.
I work and walk on two legs.
Oh, that's great. So the best of both worlds, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, actually, I designed it like that, because I wanted. So, I continue with teaching and coaching online individuals that are settled in France.
Okay.
Expatriates, immigrants. I don't like the differences, but I just say that everyone, who needs to learn, practice, overcome difficulties with French because they live in France and they see that their French is not sufficient for the goals they want to achieve. So I have this program which is called Moi-même en français, myself in French, to help people achieving their goals in French. So this is the French part. I will say I can teach as well people, and I taught people in Switzerland or in Belgium, but mostly people are settled in France. And I also created and developed different kind of offers and activities here in Valencia, because although I'm really connected with online teaching, I kind of needed to be more present
in the local community.
Exactly. So, and I really love the neighborhood where I live. And for example, I just launched a book club in my neighborhood, and it's one of the greatest experience. And
is it in French or?
Yeah, in French. Yeah, it's a book club in French made for non-French speakers, so Spanish people mostly here, who want to practice their French and talk about what they love, because we all in the group, we all love reading, and it's a really great way to share and practice the language. So it's one of the things I do. I also decided to focus here in Valencia, to focus more on advanced groups, advanced learners who already learned the language,
but want to take it to the next level, to be
kind of, or do things differently. It's like my original side of me. I want to make people able to do things a little bit differently. So I have a pronunciation workshop based on reading, oral reading, and this kind of thing. And I really like, because it's very complementary. It's here in Spain. It's not like coaching, not as I do online in France, for people in France. So it's kind of very complementary.
Oh, wow. Very good. So then among all of these activities, how does and when does the podcast come along? So we have to talk about the podcast. I mean, if there is one.
Sure. We are both podcast lovers.
I guess.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's in the process of thinking about who I am and how I want to help people that I created the podcast. At first, it was just one format of me answering questions from non-French speakers, questions about language or about culture. So the first questions were like, what's the difference in pronunciation? What's the difference? And how can I pronunciate well the difference between jeune and jaune, which is between young and yellow, so totally different words. But it's true that it's kind of difficult, mainly for Spanish people, for example. So, answering questions about what are the traditions for New Year in France, this kind of question. And
so it's a language learning podcast.
Exactly.
So it's not like idea... talking about people who work in languages like mine.
No.
You don't learn anything here.
No. Oh, I think we always learn. We always learn.
Just kidding.
Yeah. And so it was answering questions from them. Because you always. When you live in a country, in a foreign country, maybe you meet some friends, or you have I don't know how to say this in English. In Spanish, we say the political family.
Oh,
it's like
like your adopted family, right?
Yeah, exactly. From your partners, the family of your partner, for example, and you speak. Maybe you speak French. You speak French.
Oh, in your case, is Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. My political family is the Spanish family of my partner.
Okay.
And maybe when you are in the country, you learn the language, and sometimes you ask people questions. People that are not teaching the language to your friends, and they always say like, "Okay, I don't know why there is this rule," or
yeah, of course.
"No, I can't help you with the pronunciation. It's normal, But why can't you make the why can't you speak right? And I don't understand, I can't tell you." So I was like, I want to help people, who ask, who have these questions in mind. And I deeply think that this is really important for your learning process, to have questions and to ask questions to yourself. But sometimes you need people to answer. And
for sure.
The better is the answer, the better you will speak. So this was my idea, to provide answers to non-French speakers eager to improve in French and reflect on the French language and on their learning. So that was the initial project. And then, thanks to the coaching, I realized that there were other things that I could do to help people improve in French and thinking about their learning process. So now there are two other sections. There is one section where I interview an expert in language, in French, in expatriation, in coaching. All these topics that are really connected to learning the language, like self-development. And I interview them to so that they can pass on their skills, their knowledge about this, and so it's one section, and there is another section where I interview a non-French speaker who has been through the learning process, learning French and making French a strong language in which they identify. We spoke earlier about identifying in a language, and there are many people that in the end can identify to another language, which is not their native language. Yep. And that's great to hear their journey to being themselves in French. So
yeah, exactly.
That's another thing
I do think a lot about
help.
that. And I also, I participate in a lot of networking events and things like that. And this is always the thing, because I do believe that learning a language is a self-development process.
Totally.
Because a lot of things have to be in place and you have to know yourself very well from many perspectives. And I don't say that you start already knowing yourself from those perspectives, but along the path, you will discover many things. And like you say, when you need to get to a moment where you identify, and if you don't, then you have to make peace, like me with my friend. There's been, it's been many, many years. I have made peace with my relationship with French. So I know where it is in my life. That's why I call it, that's what you heard, right? My silent language, because it's very present, but never from a very active way on my part, right? So it's like I read and I love all the I told you, like the French lexicography, meaning making dictionaries in France. They're just the best and all of that stuff. But when it comes to language itself and the culture, I really don't identify, and I've never taken it any further because there was never that will to pursue French as an entity that could be a part of my active life. So I totally know what you mean. Maybe if I needed to be in French, then I would have to go and dig down inside myself to find the French speaker in me, because I've heard it a few times, so I know it exists. But
it's all connected to the motivation, the goals that you have, and if you don't need, or if you don't find really an interest in speaking French and being yourself in French, there's no. I think there is no obligation, to, and that's great. What you did and how you put it, it's like you make peace with this. And actually, there are many people that I help, and at some point, I think my role is also to help them make peace with their French not being as good as they would want. So I think it's really important to select the point to which you want to go, and reaching that point, and maybe you will reach another point, but it's all okay, and you don't have to oblige yourself.
I mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, I understand that sometimes there is a need for you to learn a certain language for work, for your own personal other things that might happen, but when you don't have that and you do it for pleasure or because you have other interests, and it's not going to show up in a public way. So I don't know if I could speak French in public. That would be like insane, but I wouldn't actually have a context in which that would make sense either. And I guess that's why I've released it from, the things that are always here. I love it. I love especially terminology and all sorts of work. I do a lot of work that includes French when it comes to terminology, especially, and lexicography. But it's like that's it. I don't have to speak it somehow. I'm not forced to do it for any reason. And it's like, okay, I know where I stand, right? And I know the difference between my relationship with Spanish and English and my own language and all of that. And like I told you before, if I can have English even instead of Portuguese, I will do it. That's the relationship that I have, because it's very passionate and visceral, and that's like I'm a fanatic.
But actually, I think you reached the point to be yourself in French. You're yourself. You use the French for something that you love and that really enriches you, which is terminology, and that's just great.
That's how it goes. But you never know. I mean, lots of things can happen, and things.
Yeah, and things always evolve. So sure.
But I hear you. So you also have a newsletter, not only the podcast.
Yeah. Actually, I really have fun writing it. And I had fun thinking about why am I doing a newsletter? When you're an entrepreneur, there are many advice about marketing advice. You should have a newsletter. And I always resisted, that kind of advice. I was like, no, I want to do things, with the tools I choose and this kind of thing. But it came to a point where I was like, okay, maybe it can help me to make myself known to the public. And I will be able to help more people if I get more visibility. So it was. I was like, okay, maybe I can dig into that. And I was like, but I want the newsletter to be really helpful for people, because I just hate the newsletter that are selling things, and actually these newsletters don't talk about you. They just talk about a product or a company, and I didn't want that. So I really thought about what I wanted to share and how I could help with this kind of relationship with people, with non-French speakers. And so I designed it to be like inspirational. A little bit of information about my activity, I don't know, or price reduction I do, or a new program, and also there is a third part of sharing an idea or a resource to practice and improve in French. So these are the three sections for me that can help people to reflect on their language learning process, on the language itself, and giving motivation, incentive to learn and dig into who they can be in French. So, and I have much fun writing it, and it's great when people, and it actually occurred last week, where a reader told me, I loved this letter. I was like, great. That's exactly.
That's why I do it.
If I can help, that's why I do that, and maybe she won't buy me, anything, but it's just great to know that it helped her in her own process. So it's, and I had fun designing and imagining the name of it, because I love play on words. Of course, I'm a language lover, so it's called La Lettre du Moi. Which is a play on words between moi, which is me, myself, the pronoun, and moi, the month. Because in French, it's it's not spelled the same way, but you pronunciate and you hear it as well. So it's la lettre du mois, the letter of me or the month.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like that. It's great. I guess it was a great moment to get to know each other. Like I say, I'm now more and more talking to people who teach French or things related to French. And that's probably how I came across your profile, probably through Isabel's profile, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. Isabel, who gives great examples and great tips to pronunciate French. I really love her posts.
I was like, oh, that episode, I had so much fun.
Great.
I always do it. That's why I do it. But I think it's unbelievable. And I just don't want to, have a monopoly of everything related to English or anything like that, because I think it's very important to just bring a lot of other points of view to the podcast, because you never know who's gonna listen to it and be interested in work from multiple people. And that's really the idea. So thank you so much for being here. Taking some minutes from your busy day schedule with podcasts and newsletters and classes and community service. I really like the idea of just, also engaging with the community, but I know what it is to be a foreigner and how the things you do have a certain type of impact that sometimes it's more obvious when you're not in your own country. So I understand that. So I think it's great that you're doing it and integrating yourself with your surroundings, which is great. And it's great living in Spain. Somehow I've done it and it was okay. But like I told you, I was speaking English all the time anyway. So, yeah, so
Yeah, but
that's
it
not
kind
where my
of
Spanish comes from.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah. But
but
it's great for me because I understand more the I think the experience to be a foreigner
of
in
course.
a country, and it's great because I think that my process of being who I am now is thanks to being in Spain
Oh,
and
yes, it totally changes you. Oh, it
yeah,
shows you so much about yourself. I guess that is really the height of the experience of being an immigrant, right? But I was an
yeah.
immigrant twice, and of course, once it was in Spain, just next door. But the other time in the States, that really probably changed everything about everything that I do. So I get
Yeah,
it.
different cultures and
Yeah, that was the
sure.
clash, right? The positive clash, like I call it.
Cool, cool.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much, Rita, to give me the
You're welcome.
opportunity to speak about what I do because
Oh, of course.
I really hope to help people. So it's great
Yes.
that
And
people
I'm
would
sure
hear and
you do, and you will continue on doing so. So people can follow you on LinkedIn, and then we'll just you'll send me any links that you have and anything that you find relevant for us to put in our introduction to our episode. So thank you so much, and yeah, I'll see you around. Thank you. Have a great day.
thank you. Bonne journée.
Wow. Ciao.